kita kamera khusus.
Kamera khusus kita,
Saya
Pak.
kamera memori saja. Ada dalam memori. Lagi alhamdulillah. Biar buka yang merah juga, masih ada juga begitu diri cintanya.
Ambil lang, ambil Pi.
Kenapa kesel bikin terus? Dapat awang, kamu jatuh tak ingat. Jangan bapak.
Jadi telinganya no. Top share juga.
Top share 3,5. Baru 2 tadi kan? 9,5 biasa. 5,6
biasa. Sama di kantin.
Itu apa lama? 15,0.
the research to be translated to the field to help the farmers. So I think today will be a very good opportunity for the scientists and the farmers to interact together. And very often with research all around the world, sometimes there isn't to share the information directly with the farmers. I'd like to thank Pak Moharyadi for and the team for organising this particular workshop. Tomorrow will be a more scientific session, but today is basically an opportunity for the farmers and the scientists to be able to share information. I think it's also an opportunity for the scientists to learn from the farmers. Very often when we conduct research, we learn a great deal from the farmer experience. So I think by the researchers and the farmers spending time together.
Isinya juara, sehingga kita sempat hadir di aula Balai Riset Perikanan Budidaya Air Payau dalam rangkaian acara workshop pengelolaan tambak tanah Supat Masam untuk budidaya tambak berkelanjutan yang berlangsung sehari tanggal 3 Desember 2004. Acara ini diselenggarakan oleh
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, dan selamat pagi. Salam bahagia dan sejahtera selalu buat kita semuanya. Sorry Jess, I should speak in bahasa. At first I should appreciate for your coming here to have this seminar or workshop. Kalau ditunggalnya sudah 5 atau 6 tahun, tapi sebenarnya proyek ini merupakan kerjasama antara ASIAR yang kebetulan komandan atau pemimpin proyeknya adalah Dr. Desmond Samur. Beliau dari UNSW Sydney. Ini pelaksanaan proyek ini sudah dilaksanakan di beberapa tempat, baik yang ada di Maros, kemudian ada juga di Sinje, pernah juga di Cairns. Jadi yang jelas jadwal yang ada di sini, yang ada di hadapan Bapak sekalian itu jadwal tentatif, artinya bisa bergeser tergantung keperluan. Kunjungan lapang pun juga tergantung keperluan. Nanti rencananya setelah ada diskusi. Tapi di Unhas, walaupun Unhas tapi bukan berarti lebih jelek daripada Australia, Pak Aman. Mudah-mudahan calon-calon dokter kita ini bisa menyampaikan apa yang Bapak-bapak harapkan. Oh maaf juga Ibu ya, karena masih ada Ibu di sini. Intinya mereka akan menyampaikan 2 hal. Yang pertama Pak Ahmad Mustafa tentang tinjauan tanah Supat Masam dalam budidaya tambak.
Karakteristik Oasis Basoy in South Sulawesi. And next I want to speak in bahasa. Jadi pada kesempatan ini, seperti saya jelaskan tadi, saya akan mencoba menjelaskan lebih jauh apakah itu tanah Supat Masam sebelum kita melangkah ke sesi berikutnya. Dalam paparan kami ini akan mencoba menjelaskan apa pengertian tanah Supat Masam, kemudian bagaimana tanah Supat Masam terbentuk, kemudian bagaimana distribusi atau penyebarannya, dan ini untuk memudahkan melihat tanda-tanda yang mengandung pirit. Jadi itu sebenarnya definisi daripada tanah Supat Masam itu sendiri. Kemudian tanah Supat Masam itu ada dikenal 2 macam. Jadi ada tanah Supat Masam potensial, ada adanya upaya-upaya dan tentunya sangat bergantung daripada karakter daripada tanah itu sendiri. Jadi ada hal-hal tertentu mungkin hanya dengan sifat tertentu dia hanya perlakuannya demikian, kemudian kalau yang lainnya perlakuannya juga demikian. Mungkin untuk perbaikannya sebentar ada pada seksi berikutnya akan disampaikan oleh Pak Brata Pancana.
Tidak bisa langsung digunakan untuk budidaya tambak karena tanah Supat Masam ini dinilai mempunyai produktivitas yang rendah. Misalnya tingkat pemasaman tanahnya sangat tinggi, pH kurang dari 4, bahkan kurang dari 3. Kemudian kandungan besi, aluminium, sulfat, dan pirit, serta logam berat juga sangat tinggi. Dan kemudian kejenuhan bahasa sangat rendah. Kejenuhan bahasa itu termasuk
ya, kami nanti setelah kembali dari sini bagaimana menghadapi petani ini untuk memotivasi. Saya kira itu ada 3 pertanyaan yang saya sampaikan, mudah-mudahan dapat bermanfaat buat kita semua. Terima kasih. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Masih ada lagi, kalau nggak ada saya coba menjawab langsung dari Pak Jalan. Dan kemudian Bapak ketemu di Komnas Kaltim Pak ya, sama-sama lebih dari 50 ton. Jelas ini kayaknya tidak mungkin untuk ditiru oleh petani. Tapi secara umum kalau kita berdasarkan dengan pH F tadi dan tekstur, kita bisa mengestimasi kalau kondisi yang seperti di Lampuara.
Ya dulu, saya tanya apa sih? Kenapa justru kalau pakai dedak tanah masam, karena di situ kita bilang tanah masam, sulfat masam. Kenapa justru berhasil kalau dikasih dedak? Pertama. Yang kedua,
diceritakan tuh apa dia bilang diceritakan.
Kandungan sulfur yang bisa teroksidasi. Jadi karena sebenarnya kan pirit itu kan dari S2, jadi bersih dengan sulfur. Yang menjadi indikator pemasaman itu sebenarnya sulfurnya, berapa sulfur yang bisa teroksidasi. Nah, itu nanti yang akan berakibat ya. Sebenarnya itu yang mau dinetralkan. Sulfurnya itu yang mau dinetralkan. Sedikit lagi, kalau tambah lama
sudah banyak bang organisasi misalnya.
Kalau tanah sulfat masam itu Pak kan tanah mineral.
Kalau macam itu tambak lama di tambak lama sudah ya. Kompos itu hanya sudah puluhan tahun tidak
pakai tanah sulfat masam atau cuma gambut. Itu pertanyaannya.
Kalau kelihatan dia ada piritnya Pak, nah itu baru
kalau dia tanah sulfat masam harus hati-hati dengan penyaringan. Karena harus disimbangkan berapa kali juga penjelasan.
Kalau kondisi begitu kira-kira bagaimana? Apa ya di sesuatu gimana? Kita bisa tentukan ini tanah pirit atau gambut.
Doesn't look as good as this one, so the treatment over there is working, but here there's still an iron problem, which is showing us that the liming technique in that pot is working very well. So what's your view?
This one, the experiment to try to compare the liming technique, different liming technique. One the integration liming on the dike, and the other only put the liming on in the bottom. You can see here, this one is the quality of water is very good compared with the other port, because the other port using that technique liming would integrate with the dike. The result is more better than this one.
This farmer here is from Wajo, and he had some problems with prawns as well, from the acid sulfate soil. Is that right?
Ada masalah dengan tanah sulfat masam yang bisa di Kabupaten Nganjuk itu masalahnya sebenarnya tidak ada masalah lain karena penelitian sudah banyak yang masuk ya. Istilahnya petani-petani di sana itu cuma ditinggal begitu saja, baik istilahnya banyak yang sudah masuk, dia masuk memberikan begini, tapi kayaknya jauh itu sudah. Terus gimana dengan sangat saya gembira melihatnya Pak, karena itu kalau kita lihat secara sepintas lalu itu sebenarnya mendukung secara teori, tapi realisasinya di lapangan nanti ya nggak tahu lah bagaimana. Dari bapak balai istilahnya realisasinya ke lapangan nanti saya harap supaya direalisasikan ke lapangan. He is very happy to attend this workshop because he can compare with the maybe theory with the practice in the field. Yeah, I think we say like this. He's very happy to attend all the workshop. That's good.
Do we have some? We'll look at some prawns. Okay, so this one is from the treated pond.
Yeah.
This is good quality, hard shell, not a bad size. This one from the untreated, you can see the gills, gill covers. All right, so this shrimp is from the treated pond, and it's
Clear.
hard shell,
And
clear gills. This one, on the other hand, is smaller. So this is from this one, and you can see the iron in the gills as well. So it's showing that your research is actually improving the size of the shrimp and also the quality of the shrimp, which is good for the farmer.
I think it's affected by the treatment, because this one is I put the liming integrated with the dye, and the result of the shrimp is very good. The clean is kind and very hard. And the other, but this one I take from the pond without treatment. The small size of shrimp, and then not clear and soft.
That's right. Well, that's a good result. It's showing that everything is working out well, and this is an opportunity, I guess, for the farmers to adopt some of this technology for research.
Yeah, I think like this, but I want to try to tell the other farmer to apply the treatment like this.
Explain to the farmer the differences between the treated and the untreated ponds.
Yeah,
gudangnya ternyata kelihatannya bersih, besar dari yang ini dan keras. Nah, ini gudang yang satu, ini kami ambil dari tambak yang satu ini yang tidak fungsinya tidak ditampung. Nah, gudangnya ternyata kecil, ada 4 liter besi di tulisannya dan tulisannya kayak terbuka gini Pak. Nah terus ini juga listrik. Jadi ada pengaruh dari adanya perbedaan perlakuan tersebut. Jadi saya kira perlakuan ini sangat bagus karena memperlihatkan hasil yang berbeda. Jadi sehingga mungkin Bapak Petani nanti bisa mencoba-coba mengaplikasikan apa yang kami dapat dari sini.
Oke, kita pemain bola. Kita. Satu sekolah kan, bos. Bos.
This is cement.
Tanah Supak Masam. Saya yakin Bapak lebih mengetahui bahwa tanah Sumak Masam ini khususnya di daerah kita di Sulawesi Selatan ini, Pak, di daerah Marili dan sebagainya itu Pak. Itu setelah dilakukan penelitian memang banyak sekali yang kita dapati. Nah, di setiap banyak provinsi-provinsi Pak, terutama Kalimantan, itu sudah membuka tambak Pak, tanpa memperhatikan kondisi tanahnya itu sendiri. Nah, untuk itu mudah-mudahan siapa tahu nanti suatu saat saya tidak tahu suatu saat nanti Bapak nanti diminta bantuan Pak pakar-pakar, teman-teman dari universitas atau pengambil kebijakan, siapa tahu nanti suatu saat diminta oleh Pemda, oleh pengusaha untuk membuka tambak, nanti minimal inilah satu constraint atau satu hambatan yang barangkali perlu kita waspadai. Jadi untuk itu kenapa seminar pagi hari ini sangat penting dan
has, as I said before, very strong collaboration between two teams of people from Australia and from Indonesia, and I'd like to acknowledge the input of the people involved in the project. I won't go through all the names because there are many, but this is mainly the team from RICA and the team from the University of New South Wales, and the main institute here in Indonesia is the Research Institute for Coastal Aquaculture. The project actually had its origins in India. In a previous
tahun 1997 proposal sudah dibuat dan alhamdulillah tahun 1999 proyek ini mulai berjalan. Ada beberapa instansi yang terkait seperti sudah dijelaskan sebelumnya, misalnya dari di University of New South Wales, kemudian di Indonesia, Balai
percobaan di Marana, kelihatan sekali warna airnya sudah berbeda. Ini juga, kalau ini sudah terlanjur, pematangnya sudah jadi ya. Jadi mau tidak mau kalau sudah terlanjur ya kita kapuri aja sepanjang pematang menjelang hujan ini. Lanjut. Nah kira-kira kalau tadi dari aspek lingkungan yang sudah terlanjur karena tambaknya sudah jadi, nah sekarang dari aspek yang lain mungkin dari udangnya sendiri apakah bisa diobati atau tidak. Ini penting.
Ini pada musim-musim tertentu atau bulan tertentu. Itu yang pertama saya kira. Kemudian yang kedua, kemarin
environmental processes. We know there are existing models overseas for sea cage work, but they're not conducted in tropical systems. So Dave McKinnon from the Australian Institute for Marine Science will be working with Rahmansa here in Maros, looking at those environmental processes. At the same time, the land-based team is going to be looking more closely to production data and environmental data to look at what areas in South Sulawesi are most productive for different production systems, and is there a relationship between the production system and the type of management, environmental factors, etc. Because we need to firstly determine what is the interaction between human management methods and the environment that leads to better or poorer production. But overlapping those two projects is going to be a social survey, socio-economic survey as well, in which we want to collect information from farmers, and that information is called lay knowledge. Sometimes the farmers' observations in the field are stronger than our quantitative data. So what we're hoping to do is to be able to collect the farmer information and integrate that into our analysis. There's another layer. On top of all of this, we have remote sensing and GIS activities. With the GIS activities, we want to create sub-models. And the sub-models may be for chemical controls on production of shrimp, or fish, or crabs, and then physical models. But we also want to include the socio-economic models. But we need, during the second or third stage of the project, we are going to be integrating the criteria for the sea cages with the land-based, because if you look at sea cage farming independently, you may find an ideal physical or environmental conditions for sea cage farming, optimal conditions. But you may also have optimal conditions for tambak. And even if you have optimal conditions for tambak, may be optimal for only 100 hectares, not for 200. So we want to develop a classification scheme that has categories of information that will guide environmental decision making and planning for government officers, but also to help the farmers as well. Because, for example, in Australia, when we approve a development, if we do a site assessment, we can say this is very good for shrimp. So you put a pond. Next door is also very good. So another pond. 5 years later, maybe 40 hectares and 10 different farmers. So no longer good. So with the classification scheme, we want to put limits on how many sea cages you can have and how many tambak you can have before there is environmental impact or industry affecting the other industry. But before we reach that point, we still have to do the carrying capacity modelling of the estuaries. We need to do the studies on the land. So we're looking at a four years of research. With the research teams will have GIS people, remote sensing people, economists, social scientists, physical scientists, chemical scientists, geomorphologists, oceanographers, veterinary pathologists, a whole range, a big team of people, because it's a true multidisciplinary problem. We have to approach it from a multidisciplinary way. In fact, from our research and preparation for this project, we have never seen anyone before attempt something like this. Usually they only look at soil characteristics or maybe water quality, but not the range of criteria. There is, we're going to use multi-methods, different methods, and it's going to mean we're going to train people from Indonesia in Australia and also locally, and try to increase the interaction between the Australian scientists and the Indonesian scientists to share the knowledge. But by the end of the 4 years, we hope to have a mapping output and guidelines that will give an indication. The
the thing we must always remember is that mapping is a guide, but ultimately for each location you still have to do some basic site assessment because the mapping scale is too big. But it's exciting stuff because I don't think any other country has done social, economic, carrying capacity, and for different types of farming. So I think it's going to be a world first for Maros and for South Sulawesi. So if anyone here has expertise and would like to be involved, please talk to the team because the more knowledge and the more interaction, the better. And there was a question about the spat settling. In Australia, we often joke that the oysters must be Catholic because they spawn Christmas and Easter every year, exactly. Maybe 1 week before, 1 week after Christmas, like coral. Big spawning, Easter, 1 week before or 1 week after. We think there is the moon is involved, the stage of the moon, water temperature, and to some degree rainfall, or a certain tide level. It's different for each estuary, but the wild oysters do the spawning. When they spawn, there is movement of the sperm and the ova in the currents in the estuary, and as they develop, the larvae will move around the estuary and the currents, and there are some areas where there is higher spat fall, some areas where consistently always low. But the farmers noticed that where for maybe 30, 40 years, always very high, suddenly very low for 5 years, and upstream, new development in acid sulfate soil. Our research only looked at whether settling was successful or not. But some of our theories is that there is an iron bacteria biofilm that covers the substrate and creates like glass too smooth. So that may affect the spat attaching to the substrate. The other theory is that, and we want to test this with some experiments, is that once the spat settle, the ones that are able to settle, subsequent iron settling on top will then cause mortality. We also think that there may be a chemotaxic response, that the surface of the substrate, when it's coated with iron, affects the attraction of the spat to the surface. We haven't tested that experimentally. We have to do that under controlled conditions. We were thinking of getting a successful spat fall in a non-acid area and then transferring to an acid area and looking at survival. So we will do some of those field experiments, maybe not this year, maybe next year. It depends on students and money, because the research is essentially over. So I think there's maybe possibly a combination of factors that affect the spat settling. The farmers, when they collect the spat in Australia, they collect, you don't have them here, you know the Venetian blinds? You know the blinds, no you don't have, thin, very thin plastic, and it's flexible, and they place them in the estuary, and when the spat settle, they pick it up and they twist it after maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and they collect the small spat. Then they grow them separate. They grow them individually. So what we're suggesting to the farmers, if they have a spat fall and then there is very heavy rain and they can see the iron coming down the river, to collect the spat and move them somewhere else that's safer. So the farmers can use observations and some water quality data to move the spat, so that they can hope, because some farmers sell the spat to other estuaries, second business, because no hatcheries, so they rely on the wild spat. But in Australia, Sydney rock oyster farming is going down. Too many diseases and too much. The population on the coast is increasing. We have only 20 million people in Australia. You nearly have 20 million people in Jakarta and the surrounding area. But in Australia, most of the 20 million are on a very thin coastline on the estuary, because the estuary is good for transport, recreation. Everyone in Australia wants to live near the water, and all our best agricultural land is near the estuary as well, because we have desert. Maybe 70% of Australia is desert. So our population growth is all on the coast. So every time we flush the toilet or a factory discharges waste in the estuary, and the oyster farmers, they have limited opportunity to move. So each year the water quality keeps going down, and we have problems in Australia when it's, in Sydney we don't have a wet or dry season, but we have some years no rain, very low rain, and some years a lot of rain. In the years where there is very low rain, the oyster production is very high, because the water quality is very salty and no problems with acid. But during the high rainfall period, there is more pollution coming into the estuary, more acid, and the oysters, the production goes down. But also, if you eat oysters after heavy rain, you can get food poisoning. Now, we have to, by law, treat the oysters for 48 hours with ultraviolet light, forced filtering, but still some hepatitis A and some viruses remain in the oysters. So after heavy rain, the oyster farmers cannot sell the oysters for maybe 1 month. So the industry is finding it very, very difficult. Now they're looking at different species, because they're looking for maybe introduced species that are more strong and more resistant.
Thank you.
Awalnya kami sangat menguntungkan, begitu banyak investor yang punya duit langsung bikin tanpa diperhitungkan. Ada yang satu investor itu punya 300 lubang. Jalan terus akhirnya untuk lingkungan jadi rusak. Akibatnya sekarang sulit bangun karena penyakit muncul dan akhirnya. Nah, ini carrying capacity mestinya harus diukur di samping layak, juga kemampuan dia produksi supaya lingkungan tidak rusak. Itu harus. Kalau enggak, ya kolaps nanti. Saya kira kegiatan budidaya apapun akan seperti itu. Nah, itu bisa diperhitungkan berapa banyak ikan yang harus kita produksi supaya lingkungan tidak rusak. Berapa ikan yang diproduksi maksimum, kemudian kita bisa hitung berapa wadah yang kita perlukan, berapa ikan atau pakan yang kita berikan supaya lingkungan tidak rusak. Ini carrying capacity. Nah, ini ada pendekatannya supaya kita bisa mendapatkan nilai itu. Sehingga tadi kemudian itu kita juga harus pertimbangkan kembali lagi, sekali lagi saya ingatkan, mengenai produk dan processing ini juga penting. Kadang-kadang kalau kita buat jual segar mungkin harganya murah, kalau sedikit diproses mungkin harganya sudah naik dengan nilai tambah. Ini perlu kita kaji. Yang pertama mungkin ada satu kawasan yang status quo, jangan dirubah lah itu.
Nah, kemudian mengenai bentuk dari pemupukan itu sendiri, di sini juga tidak memperlihatkan adanya pengaruh yang nyata daripada terhadap pH tanah. Terhadap kepadatan plankton, di sini terlihat bahwa dengan pengeringan cenderung kepadatan.
Menurut Bapak tadi sudah meneliti Sinjai Timur, tambang yang ada di sana memang memerlukan.
Apa yang dikatakan oleh Pak Adi, saya juga sebenarnya berpikir seperti begitu, Pak. Kita berpikir A sampai Z, produksi sampai pemasarannya.
Hanya persoalan di balainya itu kadang-kadang tumpang tindih antara program-program atau mungkin proyek-proyek tertentu yang kelihatannya sama dilakukan oleh Bendol, dilakukan oleh Geografi, dilakukan oleh Maros. Itu pengakuan yang ditambah dari Pak Nurhayani tadi itu ada keterangan, yaitu angkat tangannya semua. Ini luar biasa. Tapi itu membuat
it's been enjoyable for me today to see everyone here because very often when we do research we forget about other people, the farmers and the other researchers. So it's pleasing today to see everyone here, people who are involved in the project but also people who can benefit from the information. Also thank you to the people who have been asking questions and sharing their own experiences and their own ideas. I think it's a good forum for information exchange, and hopefully with the next project we'll be able to do this more regularly, and we'll certainly try to do this maybe potentially at least once each year. I'd also like to thank the people who helped to organise this, people who work from Mr Muhariadi's office and also the ACR team. Mrs Hannah is not here, I think she's outside, but certainly everyone from the team. There's too many people to mention. Also Mr Muhariadi and everyone in his office who have contributed. The MC of today, and all the people who have been videoing and taking photos, helping with translations. All of that is very much appreciated. I also appreciate the fact that some people may have travelled from far away to come here. I know yesterday many of the farmers travelled very long distances. Certainly Ardi came all the way from Bali, so and also Pakapur from Jakarta. So we've had a very broad geographic distribution of presenters and also participants. This is essentially almost the end. To see you regularly every 6 months for the next at least 4 years. And that's important, I think. We have a very strong group of researchers here because they get on very well. We have a really very good working relationship. I'd like to thank the team for all the efforts that you've individually put into the project over the last 6 years. I know a lot of you have put in a lot of your own personal time, at times under a lot of pressure because of different deadlines, and it's always been valued. And I certainly know that the people from ACR in Australia are very proud of the achievements. So it's a credit to you for all your achievements. There have been different contributions made by different people. For me, I think one of the most satisfying experiences is to see the individual people in the project grow and become stronger researchers. It's always, for me, interesting just to watch how people approach obstacles. Research always has its challenges, and there have been many challenges for us, and we've always succeeded, and that is largely because of the contributions of the different coming. And thank you again to the team for your contributions, and as I said, this is not the end, it's just we're turning the corner into something even bigger and better. So thank you very much.